Today on Sacred Harmony, we welcome Reginald Martin, a spiritual architect and creator of Kametaphysics, a science of ontology designed to transform identity and awaken sovereignty. His work dives deep into how hidden systems, religion, culture, even family scripts shape our sense of worth. At the core lies Paradoxical Heka, a protocol of breath, voice, energy, and symbolism that revolves inner conflict and accelerates transformation. So let's explore how vibrations and paradox hold the keys to freedom and harmony. Welcome to the show, Reginald. It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Mhm. So, Reginald, what does vibration truly mean beyond the common idea of just positive or negative energy?
Yeah, vibration itself is just the idea that the universe it has movement, so that it has movement and sound. So even from the ancient and like we're talking about paradoxical Heka, this is the idea from the ancient Egyptians that in the beginning, before everything was created, there was this power that basically was sound and what we would call vibration, because sound is not just a sound that we can hear with our ears. There is sound that goes below or beyond what we can hear. So when we're talking about vibration, we're talking about really like the organizing principle of the universe.
Yeah, that's amazing. And can you share how these vibrations affect the choices we make daily?
Yeah, so it's not just necessarily vibrations affecting your choices. It's how we operate. Okay, so when we're talking about in the context of paradoxical Heka, this is really an ancient form of understanding how we as human beings we can work with our internal uh, mechanisms. So a lot of times people talk in terms of shadow and light. Okay. So paradoxical Heka is the idea. Well, first of all, a paradox is something that means it's this and that. Okay. So, and that said many different ways and many different systems, but it can be the all in all. It can be everything exists, is the all, but it's basically meaning that nothing is excluded. So, so when we're talking about paradoxical Heka, we're using sound in this sense to really recalibrate our entire system. So, if if the universe is made of vibration, then we of course are part of the universe. That means that we are vibrational beings as well, but sometimes we can get misaligned. Okay, so when we're talking about our pain, our griefs, our illnesses, that is a sign of misalignment vibrationally, and paradoxical Heka can help a person to realign. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And that really reframes vibration as more than a mood. It's like living architecture for our being.
Yes, absolutely. You said that beautifully. It has so much more to do with with moods. And let's just say, for instance, a person that has been dealing with grief, and we all go through our ups and downs in life, and we might have things happen to us. We might be betrayed by a lover, and we hold on to the betrayal, and we deal with it in a way where it ends up causing us to act in ways that are really detrimental to our health. Well, what a society does today a lot of times is they treat the shadow as something that you need to fight, something that you need to get over, something that you need to work on. So it's like the shadow is an adversary. But from the ancient Egyptian perspective and from the ancient Kemetic perspective, the shadow is still a part of us. The shadow is still a part of the universe. So it doesn't, the shadow is not something that's antithetical to the universe. It's a part of the universe. So that's where it goes back again to the paradox. It is this and that. Okay. So when we're talking about using it as a source of healing ourselves, then instead of putting it into a context where we are against the shadow, we literally use the shadow as fuel. Okay, so the shadow becomes something that we work to integrate rather than to banish or to something that you fight against and get rid of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And paradoxical hacker sounds intriguing. Like, how do paradox and healing intersect in your work?
So it is really fascinating because this is just this really like a rediscovery of the ancient technology, because what it is really ancient energetic technology of our energetic field. So we have a field that, of course, we're all energy, and we have a field, but how that intersects is say, for instance, if a person wants to get over, say, they've had pain where they've been really grieving a lost loved one. Okay. And a lot of times, Anya, the grief comes from we're really missing that person, and we miss them, and we wish that they were still here. And and we really deal with that grief in a way that causes us a lot of pain. Does that make sense, what I'm talking about here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great.
Yeah, so when we're talking about the idea of how do we reconcile that grief, because unless we reconcile it, then we really end up dealing and holding on to the pain. So we can literally hold on to pain for years because we've been grieving that loved one. We miss them, we want them, we wish they were here. But at some point, anybody that does reconcile the grief, that means that they have to hold the past that they've had with them, but to also recognize the beauty that they had with them. Okay, and recognize that they can still acknowledge that beauty right here and now, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
why do you think our minds resist paradox, even though it can unlock deeper truths?
Yeah, I think a lot of people it's not even that they resist paradox, it's just that they're so locked in on the shadow as something that you have to get rid of. Okay. So for instance, with the grief and how and I can demonstrate what I mean by the paradox. So we might make a saying, and when I'm saying heka, we're using sound and breath to basically help tune your energetic field or to retune it. So when you're speaking, you're literally using Heka because you're using sound. Okay. So when you want to basically balance out your field and really help to overcome the grief, you really reconcile it to where it becomes a new vibrational essence or part of you. So you might say something like, even though I really miss, and I'll just say a name. So even though I really miss Sally, and the pain really hurts me. Okay, and the first part is just acknowledging that pain. Then you can say, I honor that pain. I honor that aspect of me that's feeling that pain, but I still recognize the beauty in Sally and the beauty in me. Okay. So what I just did there was, instead of fighting the pain, I acknowledged it, and then also acknowledged that essence part of me that can recognize the beauty that's still connected to that energy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that because embracing paradox feels like permission to be both human and divine at once.
Bingo. Yes. And you're recognizing both parts of that because, and that's a lot of times what we do when, and I work with the, practitioners and healers with this because they've been also taught the idea that you must get rid of the shadow. You must work against the shadow. But we already know from experience that you trying to get over it or trying to bypass it. And that's one of the other things that they'll do is people will try to give you affirmations. What ends up happening is when you're fighting the shadow, you end up creating a block because you end up making it stronger. Okay. Because you're giving more energy to it. The other part of that is that people will try to do affirmations. Affirmations basically bypass. So they bypass the shadow in a way that they don't acknowledge it. So that it might work for a moment or it might work for some days mentally, but at some point that shadow is going to rise up again. So when we do acknowledge the paradox, then it allows us to hold both spaces, and that creates a new vibrational essence within our energetic field. So yes, it gives us permission to be both human and divine because you're recognizing and connecting back to that divine aspect of you when you do acknowledge the beauty in the memories, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you speak about hidden operating systems shaping our identity. How can someone recognize when they're being run by one?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of times what happens is that when we are operating, a lot of times when we're not aware of it. But let me give you a really simple, practical way to recognize when you're not in control and something else is. So when we're dealing and the simple way to do that is just really recognizing your vibrational essence, okay? And the way to do that is your emotions and your feelings are calibrated or a way that you communicate with the universe. So when you feel good, then you are aligned with essence. That's just one simple way to do it, okay? To think about this. When you feel bad, you're misaligned, okay? So when to know when you are being controlled by something else, you're usually not you don't feel good about it. You might get depressed, you might get angry, you feel like somebody's manipulating you or whatever, and you get angry about it, then that means you're misaligned. So when you to in order to realign yourself, you have to do what you need to do to feel good or to feel joy again. Now that might be any number of things, but to know when you're misaligned is when you are not feeling your joyous self. Okay. So when you're moving along your day, moving along your path, our natural state as souls having a human experience is to be joyful. But life pulls us off sides and causes that imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And once they see it, what's the first step to reclaiming sovereignty?
The first step to reclaiming is just to know that you can have it, so that you are the creator of your reality. So you have the power to really dictate the direction that you want to go in, and you have the power to really live life on your terms. So all of this is really about helping you to do that. At the bottom line is to live life on your terms and live it through your joy. Live it through the things that light you up from within. So when you are living through your joy, that actually sends a vibrational reverberation through the whole universe. Okay. You literally are seeding consciousness with your vibration. And so when you're living life from your essence and your joy, then when you see the universe with that essence, then somebody else can tap into it and use it to even build their joy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And that shift the power back into the individual's hand, making transformation feel immediate and possible.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And that's one of the most powerful things about paradoxical Heka is that, a lot of times we can be in our pain and our grief, and people can be in that for years, okay? But paradoxical Heka can shift you in minutes, okay? So just really shifting uh your awareness in those moments within that paradox can literally, so something that you've been dealing with for years, it can literally shift you in moments. And that's something that I've actually done to help to teach practitioners how to use this technology, because that's what it is. It's mental and vibrational technology. So I've literally created, a course and a series of courses that I actually help them to use paradoxical Heka, so they can have something that they can use and know that works, because it's built on ancient principles.
Yeah, right. And also, many therapists and coaches lean on structured methods. How does chematophysics complement rather than replace modern approaches?
Oh yeah, it's a great question, because it basically, the things, a lot of times what people don't realize and what practitioners don't realize is they can have their gifts, and then they can be helping people, but a lot of times people have relapses, okay? So you might help them do something, and then they end up relapsing, and then they have to come back, and you have to do everything that you did over again. Well, the reason that is because a lot of times you're operating into what I call this ontological way of being. And ontology just means it's your way of being, or studying the way of being. And if you operate from the ontology that our society operates in, is usually there's something wrong with being physical. There's something wrong if you're not whole and healthy, something is wrong. But from a Kemetic perspective, you are divine, from birth. You are an extension of the divine. So there's nothing ever wrong with you. What it is you are in out of balance. You're misaligned, and this whole system is built on the idea of helping people realign and get back into alignment with themselves. And again, so metaphysics is the whole overall branch, and then paradoxical Heka is one of the processes, or in some of the processes and tools that can be used to keep your clients and yourself in balance.
That's amazing. And have you seen moments where this integration created a breakthrough that years of work could not?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I can just talk about in my life and my clients' lives. So, and usually that's when our breakthroughs happen, is when we actually do paradoxical Heka naturally. Okay, but a lot of times, most times, people have no idea what the processes are in order to get to that point. So usually, when we overcome our grief and we reconcile it, that is something that naturally happens to people who do find that peace, okay, at some point. But it's hit and miss for most people, and a lot of people never get there. They stay stuck in that pain. But with paradoxical Heka, it gives you a process of how that happens. So step by step, you can help people to to uh, to recalibrate, and then to reconcile that pain, that grief, the anger, or whatever it might be that you're out of balance from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's such a profound reminder. That ancient wisdom isn't outdated, it's the missing layer beneath modern practice.
Absolutely. You said that so beautifully. It is the missing layer. And a lot of times we do fragments here and there, within our society, but we've lost the connection. We don't recognize the connection that the ancients had. And we'll pick it up in different parts in religion, we'll pick it up in, the new age spiritual ideas, we'll do different things that might be bits and pieces, but it's not a full system. And Kametaphysics and Paradoxical Heka, I reframe and give you a full system to work with is one of the beautiful things about it. It's stuff that I've had to use in my life. That's how I know it works, is because it is something that I've used. And then I've helped other people, thousands of people with it.
Yeah, 100%. And if someone listening feels torn between their spiritual path and worldly responsibilities, how would paradoxical hacker guide them?
Yeah, the guidance part is really just learning to follow your joy. So paradoxical Heka will help you to recalibrate, But as far as following is guidance, you want to basically be able to tap into knowing when you are on the right path and when you're not. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you're in a joyous state, that means that you're on the path that your soul has designed for you when you got here. When you're in joy, when you're feeling good, you're on the right path. When you're off the path is when you're feeling, down, depressed, the anger, stuff like that. So use that the joy and the aligned and misaligned process to understand when you're on your path or not. That's how you can, one of the simple ways that you can use this as a guidance system is just tapping into your own soul level experience.
Yeah, that's such a freeing perspective. Like, harmony isn't escape, it's integration.
Yeah. Yeah. It is not about trying to escape. It's about integration. So that's a beautiful way to put it. It is about integrating your whole self. And again, that comes back to the idea of the paradox. It is this and that. And a lot of times in our society, we operate from the perspective it's this or that. And it puts us into contradiction and conflict with ourselves. Yeah, so well, they can reach out to me would be at on my Substack at reginaldmartin.substack.com. And I actually have some free downloads that they can use to get more acquainted with Paradoxical Heka. So if they go there, and they can get connected with my Substack, and then they can get those free downloads.
Yeah. So, what a powerful exchange with Reginald Martin. His vision of vibrations and paradoxical Heka reminds us that true harmony comes when we embrace paradox, reclaim sovereignty, and align with the deeper rhythms of our being. If you're inspired, lean into your work contradictions and listen for the vibration that calls you back to wholeness. Transformation begins not in years, but in this very moment.